Check out my friend Lee's boxing channel.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming March 11th matchup between Curtis Stevens versus David Lemieux, taking place in Turning Stone Casino in upstate New York. Great boxing venue. I'm going to be live at this fight, so I cannot wait for this matchup. We have two vicious power punchers going at each other. These guys dislike each other. And I think this fight is coming at a great time because you look at David Lemieux, he was horrible in his last fight. Curtis Stevens wasn't good in his last fight, although Curtis Stevens had a hand injury, which obviously wouldn't help his performance. So both of these guys are going to be extremely motivated to put on a great performance and really move up the ladder. Now, when I look at this fight, let's first start off with David Lemieux, what he brings to the table in this matchup. When I look at David Lemieux, vicious puncher, excellent left hook, right hand is vicious. Also, David Lemieux is an underrated body puncher, especially if you watch some of his fights in the early rounds. He does very good body work to start off the fights, which is obviously a great thing to be doing. Another thing to look out for with David Lemieux is after one of his fights in Montreal, he didn't make weight, and then he went and fought Glenn Tapia. Now, in the Glenn Tapia fight, David Lemieux was showing pretty good head movement in that fight, and I'm interested to see if that was just his opponent he was able to do that with in Glenn Tapia, or if that's something that is going to become a characteristic of David Lemieux in upcoming fights and something that he's really worked on, and its muscle memory is with him on that his head will be moving a lot defensively. So that's always something to look out for in this fight. I want to see if Lemieux is going to have an improved head movement for this matchup, and that will definitely help out quite a bit against a fighter like Curtis Stevens. Now, Curtis Stevens, what he brings to the table in this fight, this is a guy, vicious left hook, one punch power in that punch. Also, you look at his right hand is very effective, right hook to the body. Curtis Stevens has made some improvements under John David Jackson. The biggest one, in my opinion, is he's letting his hands go a lot more than he previously did. That was the biggest issue, in my opinion, with Curtis Stevens in his career. And when I look at some of the advantages both of these guys have as fighters going up against each other, let's start with David Lemieux. I believe David Lemieux has a size advantage in this fight. I also believe that David Lemieux is a better body puncher than Curtis Stevens in this matchup. And I also believe that if this fight becomes a brawl, it will favor David Lemieux, in my opinion. Now, Curtis Stevens, when I look at him and the advantages he brings to the table in this fight, I believe he has a hand speed advantage, foot speed advantage. I also believe that Curtis Stevens might be the more technical of the boxers in terms of he might be more defensively sound a little bit and also a better counterpuncher than David Lemieux. However, in this matchup, if you watch most of my videos, I'm going to go with whoever has a lot of the advantages, in my opinion, as a fighter, which I would say would favor Curtis Stevens in this matchup. But Curtis Stevens has a couple bad tendencies that are still not corrected when you watch him as a fighter. Now, the first one is when Curtis Stevens is in the center of the ring and he gets hit by a big shot, his first reaction is to immediately fire something back with power. Now, against a fighter like David Lemieux, I think Curtis Stevens needs to box smartly throughout this fight to win. In this matchup, I don't think that Curtis Stevens has enough willpower in his system to strictly just box. I think that he's going to try to brawl with Lemieux and throw some vicious power punches back, which is going to get him in some serious trouble in this matchup. Not to mention that Lemieux is very good at backing down his opponents with his style. And Curtis Stevens has a history, even in his last fight, you can see it. When you back Curtis Stevens up on the ropes, he stays in that high guard and he does not throw anything back. And that may work against guys who are lighter punchers, but a guy like David Lemieux, if you sit on the ropes against him, he's going to annihilate you. It's not going to work out. And that is why I'm picking David Lemieux in this fight, because I think that if Lemieux backs Curtis Stevens down, Curtis Stevens is going to sit in his guard on the ropes and take shots and not be active defensively. And that's the biggest issue in Curtis Stevens' game, in my opinion, and it's something that's going to cost him in this fight against David Lemieux. However, obviously, Curtis Stevens is the more skilled guy, so he could catch Lemieux coming in. It's dangerous for both these guys. Really a 50-50 matchup, in my opinion. I am, however, going to lean with David Lemieux in this fight to win shortly after mid-round stoppage, in my opinion. Like I said, just those traits that are ingrained in Curtis Stevens' head, I think are going to be an issue for him in this fight against a guy like Lemieux. However, both have a great chance to win. Both fighters I respect quite a bit. I love watching them fight. And yeah, it's going to be a great matchup, and I look forward to it. I hope to see some of you guys live at the fight. Let me know what you guys think of this matchup. I'm sure a lot of people can have various opinions on this fight. That's what makes it such a great fight. And if you haven't done so, guys, please subscribe.